A lot of chatter and speculation about the situation in Venezuela from an oil and gas perspective. Won't it have an impact on pump prices here in the U.S.? Well, let's go ahead and ask one of the nation's leading experts in that area, Gas Buddy's Patrick DeHaan. Patrick, always good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So a main reason given by the Trump administration for ousting the Venezuelan president, Nicolas Maduro, is access to the country's oil there. Let's start with this one. What kind of oil is even in that country? What are they sitting on right now? What's the infrastructure like there?
Yeah, Venezuela has reported numbers to OPEC that indicate it may have the world's largest proven oil reserves. Now, those numbers, maybe not all that oil is recoverable, but 300 billion barrels is what Venezuela estimated back under Hugo Chavez. That is what they're sitting on. Why the president may be looking for that, as he's had an affinity to lower energy prices, oil prices. He certainly mentioned gasoline prices a lot. One way to do that, expand the pool of gasoline and, of course, oil supply. And that is maybe why the president is very interested in Venezuela.
Well, what are the chances, though, the U.S. gets any of the oil out of Venezuela right now? And you tell me what right now is. Maybe not tomorrow, but in months, years, what are we looking like that can actually make a more immediate impact on the prices at the pump?
Well, keep in mind, Venezuela has a very low amount of output right now. Less than 1% of what is consumed globally is supplied by Venezuela. So they're very, very low in terms of the amount of output, but they have huge potential if that potential can be realized. A lot of why it hasn't been realized is because of socialism. That is, Hugo Chavez and under Nicolas Maduro, we've seen a heavy amount of U.S. sanctions basically keep them in check. In addition, back in 2007, companies like ExxonMobil and ConocoPhillips saw their assets seized in a nationalization effort by Chavez. So oil companies maybe have a little bit cold feet going into this, knowing that asset seizures happened just about 20 years ago. So, whether or not we can see an incredible investment, the bigger question also, oil prices are already at multi-year lows. It may be hard for the president to convince some of these companies to take a risk of tens of billions of dollars to shore up the infrastructure in Venezuela.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. That longer term is that he evidently is going to be meeting with oil executives, trying to put a massive amount of money into the system and getting oil out of there. How likely is that?
Well, I think it's maybe low in terms of likelihood. I think U.S. oil company executives who've already been burned and seen other oil companies who've gotten burned by Venezuela under those nationalization efforts back in 2007 are probably not really eager to take this big risk. I mean, the president's probably going to be asking for tens of billions of dollars. Venezuela's infrastructure is in bad state of repair right now. And so that's kind of the upfront cost. The tens of billions are needed before any really big increase in Venezuela's oil output happens. But the bigger question is, while Maduro has been captured, there's still a lot of hardline loyalists from Maduro in the regime. I mean, this is going to be a long, long time to rewrite Venezuela's history. This is just another chapter and just maybe the first sentence of that next chapter.
A lot to come on that. All right, let's go ahead to pump prices here, especially in New York State, Syracuse area. I think we're just a couple pennies below $3 a gallon, roughly speaking. Are we at about the bottom here in the Northeast, or can we go a tiny bit lower still?
Well, we might be able to go a little bit lower. Now, I will say traditionally, gas prices don't usually start going up more significantly until mid to late February and then into the spring months. But we've already seen here over the last 2 days, oil prices again today were up over 2% and almost are at $60 a barrel after just touching $55 a barrel a few days ago. So it's a little early to know if this is the definitive start or rise in prices. But yeah, traditionally, we might get another 4 weeks of relatively low prices before we start to go up. And to your point, Syracuse enjoying sub $3 prices, but that probably won't stick around for maybe more than another month or two.
Quick one on the way out, because we always kind of get this one. How can gas prices vary so much? I mean, when we say average, it's literally average, right? What's kind of the range that you could see from one station to another in a particular area?
Well, it's an average of $2.97. It wouldn't surprise me if you could find the really, really low prices in the 250s and the much higher prices probably somewhere in the 350s. I would think it's pretty fair to get a 40-cent difference between those two sides. The average might be $2.97, but there could be prices higher or lower. And a lot of that goes into timing. It goes into what the station's agenda might be, how competitive they are, what kind of profit they're looking for. Their cost of doing business can be higher if they pay their employees more, if they offer them more benefits. All of that goes into what a station's going to need to charge to recoup and potentially make money.
Patrick, always great to catch up with you. Really appreciate it. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks for having me.
Download the WSYR Plus app on your TV to stream News Channel 9 for free. Just go to your smart TV, search WSYR Plus in the App Store, and download to start streaming today.